long story short, the program here is absolutely wonderful. It's so wonderful that I've stuck around for 19 years and gained about 4 pounds a year. But I should introduce myself. So again, my name is Nick Peters. I was Stanford class of 1994. I graduated a year early in economics. I then went on about 10 years later to get my MBA. I've been working in restaurants since I was age 16 because I knew I wanted to go to Stanford. And my parents said that they would give me and my siblings enough money to go to any UC we wanted, but not to any private school. So I had to essentially pay at that time half my way here, and I did it by working as a kitchen manager, working as a financial manager. So I was a kitchen manager at the Stanford Eating Clubs near Toyon, which are now basically gone, and was actually a financial manager at what is now 557. Now Sigma Nu. So I have done what you guys have done, and I've done it while also working as an office assistant in residential education. As such, I was in a position in 1994 when I graduated that when the ASSU, which used to run payroll for the student management program, dropped its services because of workers' comp concerns, among other things, I was asked how we handled things at the eating clubs, and I came in and said, here's how we do it, because at the time I was also just beginning to general manage the eating clubs there. So since 1995, I've been doing the payroll for the chefs and the dishwashers. I have made it my life's mission to make sure that things like special dinner and the ability for you guys to spend your money your way in as much as possible would stay sacrosanct. I really truly believe that student management is an extremely valuable program. I say this every year, but in my first month as general manager, I had to fire one of my good friends who was a chef because he wasn't good enough. I had another chef die at the eating clubs there. And over the years, I've had chefs pass out on crack in the bathroom in a very famous incident, but it's not so famous anymore. That was about 12 years ago. So long story short, I've seen it all. And for those of you that are just going through this job just to get a nice room, that's fine. No worries there. But long story short, those of you who encounter tragedy or trouble will learn a lot. And my opinion and Nate Boswell's opinion, we were both undergrads here, is that a lot of the learning, in fact, most of the learning you do at an undergraduate level at any university or college, has nothing to do with the classroom. And I'm sure that in 5 or so years, a lot of you will look back and go, yeah, okay, that was right. And so what we try to do is give you guys a chance to get hands-on management experience. For those of you in self-ops, that means that you're going to be working with people sometimes that are twice your age. And you're going to have to be telling them that they're doing a good or bad job. And looking them in the eyes when you give them a bonus or less than a full bonus, et cetera, et cetera. For those of you in co-ops, you're going to be dealing directly on a daily basis with problems of the commons, as will self-ops. I'm sure you all know what problems of the commons are, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody? Yeah? And if you don't, it's really something good to know in today's environment. So long story short, that's enough about me. I am not a Stanford employee. I own a company called Student Organized Services. I bought it from the Stanford Eating Clubs when they closed last year. And long story short, I sublease the chefs and dishwashers to the houses now. And so over the last 15 years, I've been working very closely with the Office of Res Ed as a contractor. And that's why your chefs are able to be contracted year to year, because they're not union. Now, 5 years ago, I started also working with the financial side of all the row houses, which is why the co-ops are here. And over the last 5 years, we've learned a lot from the co-op end as well. And so I also assist with the financial back end for all the houses. The reason we have all the FMs and KMs here right now is that there's stuff that I'm going to talk about on the FM side that if your FM is overseas, I want to make sure someone that's here now gets some of this information. Number two, it's good for the for the KMs to see some of the stuff that's coming up just in general, because there are some larger changes. But most of the focus today will be on what the FMs need to worry about this spring and what the KMs need to worry about in terms of rehire and letters of intent for next fall for your employees. So that's what we'll be doing. And again, as soon as we're done with the FM agenda, I will let the co-ops go. We already talked about Top Chef, talked about the agenda. Okay, the purpose of student management, really, long story short, is to get you guys real-world experience in management. And we're going to talk about this in the fall, and the fall training is going to be extensive. Every year it gets a little bit bigger. This upcoming year it's going to be a fair bit bigger, especially for FMs. But there's some good reasons behind that. But long story short, it gives you real-world business experience in managing at least the division of a small company, and also in policy enforcement, basic finance, stuff like that. And it will give you real-world experience in the problems of the commons and how to manage them with guest policies, kitchens getting trashed, which at certain houses this year has been a real problem. So student management, again, to me is a wonderful program. Let's get started with the FMs. So, FMs, if you don't mind, let's take out your 3 sheets. And I will try not to read this pedantically, but sometimes I'm guilty. And I am going to glance over some stuff today, so because I was also a Stanford student, I do believe that there is such thing as a stupid question, so I'm not going to go over the obvious. And I'll trust that if you guys do have a question, you're going to come ask me. Okay. The purpose of the FM training this spring is to ensure a smooth transition for the coming fall. For those students, I'll look at the camera, that are overseas, you'll want to make sure that someone on the ground is dealing with some of this stuff. And if not, just drop me an email. Okay. First thing you have to do is come to FM training. You're here. Then from May 13th onward through May 21st, I would like the incoming FMs or their surrogates. So if you are a KM and your FM is overseas, you are a surrogate. I'd like you to get added to signature authority on the house checking accounts. Actually, all house accounts if your house has multiple accounts. We have asked over the past year for all houses to switch to either Wells Fargo or Stanford Federal Credit Union. There's a list right up here of the houses that are highlighted. I'll go ahead and highlight Tridel and House Smith right now. These houses have added Zach Sargent to their checking and or secondary accounts, as is in that little paragraph there on page 1. We are asking all the houses to add Zach Sargent to the checking account so that not necessarily this year, but in some year in the future, that the assistant director for student management is on the account so that as people are overseas, get sick, get fired, whatever, he can quickly get someone else on the signature card. Does that make sense?